What's up, everyone? This is Christian Duke. You're watching StrengthAddicts.com, Voices from the Fitness Industry. This interview here today is a really special one. We've done one pretty much every year since the iconic 2017 NPC Ruby in Boca Raton, Florida, where this gentleman competed, took third place. I personally thought he should have been second place. You guys remember, of course, that big show. We've got the super heavyweight at heart, always 24/7, Mr. Dale Chance. Dale, how are you today?
Good. How are you, man?
Fantastic, man. And I say super heavy at heart because, man, you go to a show and you're super heavy, even if they don't offer super heavy, right?
Yeah, I mean, always. But, the Ruby, coming into the Ruby, I wanted to be super heavy. They told us there wasn't going to be a super heavy. And then so I went in, okay, cool. Me and Lenny's going to be in the same weight class. And then Big Steve come along and there was a super heavy class. So me and Lenny couldn't compete head to head. We still had a pose down the day before though.
No, man, I got to tell you, that show, and I'm drinking Dust by Blackstone Labs. They don't sponsor the show, but if I get motor mouth, that's why. But I got to tell you, that show was something else because I cover, with Strength Addicts, I cover shows all around the country and now all around the world. There was something so special about that show because your fans actually went there. There's a big difference between fans, watching an Instagram Live or joining a Facebook group, but to actually go to the show and buy a ticket, because you can't get in without buying a ticket. They bought tickets to see you. That's some serious hardcore fan right there.
Well, one of the coolest parts was definitely all the fans that came out and saw us all. Robert Franks being in the audience, that was actually what took me by surprise because we knew he was coming. But when I walked out and he just screamed my name and I just pointed, I lost my complete posing routine in that second. I was like, oh my God, What am I going to do? I was like, I was starstruck. But it was so cool that he flew all the way down there to just see me and Lenny compete. That was amazing. All the fans that come out, it was great. It was a fun time. Unreal.
Robert
One of
Frank,
the best experiences.
Oh yeah, and that's a major fitness industry superstar. So
yeah, self-made at that.
Exactly.
I mean, he's incredible. I enjoy his company.
You don't even need an audience if Robert Frank is there. He is the audience. He's so loud and everything. He's got so much passion and spirit. You know what I mean? And I remember I was backstage with you guys, you and Lenny and Jason, and I tell you, I think Jason did a good job, but I think Lenny was very much aware of you. I think he was like, because there was also, a lot of talk leading up to that show that you two would, have a showdown. Why do you suppose people have such a hard time believing that you could make weight, that you could be in Lenny's weight? I've never thought that you really had an issue doing that. I think a lot of people think that you just can't get up that high on a scale.
I mean, I think what it was is because I hid my physique. So I was 284 when we started, and I got all the way down to 204, and we bulked back up to 214 on stage. But I think they just thought that I was playing it safe and trying to avoid Lenny and go lighter. That wasn't the case. It's just my body for 6 months straight, no cheat meals, nothing. And that was as best I could do. And when we found out that there wasn't going to be a super heavy, we were, okay, cool. Me and Lenny's going to compete again or anyway. But then all of a sudden, hey, there is going to be a super heavy because another guy showed up. Then it threw me out of the running to be against Lenny. But I don't know why people think that I can't make weight. I mean, right now I'm 251 pounds. And, I'm not as shredded as I was at the Ruby, but I'm fairly lean. I train every day, I have a couple rest days, but I train and I put in the work training with KP Fitness, or as I like to say, Samurai Jack. That boy he's incredible. He will be a decon pro very soon.
You're talking about Kyle Puckett?
Junior USA. Kyle Puckett, yes. Junior USA is definitely, he would turn pro. But he's actually getting me back. Training with him is actually getting me back to where I was when I started for the Ruby prep because, I wasn't sure if I would be able to do it really, to be able to push weight, heavy weight or anything because of the injuries I had. But, I've gotten up to 365 on the bench for reps, and I'm rack pulling 405 for reps. So I'm getting back, leg pressing 20 plates for 20 reps for 4 sets. I'm getting back to the old Dale Chance. I'll probably never be as strong as I was, but I'll get close. And I'm happy with that.
You're one of those guys, honestly, where, you know, I would not discount the possibility of you getting as stronger. You know, you underwent some very, very complicated surgeries with doctors telling you. We're going to talk about that later when you did junior bodybuilding, because I think that's a very good story. But, you know, I think with regards to people thinking that you can't make weight, I think it kind of goes back to what some of the other folks in the I wouldn't say Genova verse, but maybe the Misfits verse, you know, like, you know, Big J, who I like a lot. We talk a lot in DM, and, you know, Big Lenny also. It's interesting, though, because, you know, if Jay, for example, were to get, you know, ripped down to bodybuilding quality, you know, I don't know how big you would be, but I just think, you know, I just thought it was funny how you've never been called Big Dale, because, I mean, you did get down to that low body fat percentage and retained a lot of size. The interview that we did outside, which has got like, I think like 65,000 views, most of the comments are quite positive with comparison to Jason's video outside, which also have about 65,000 views. Most of those comments are actually negative. So it was a really interesting, you know, breakdown. But I think going back to what I was saying earlier with the Genova verse and the Universe verse, a lot of people think that Cornelius has you eating asparagus and, you know, salads, like basically making the case that you're eating like a bird. And the thing is, you look at Kyle Puckett, you look at Kevin DeHaven, you look at Cornelius himself, the guy who beat Boston Lloyd, and none of you guys look like birds. I mean, you're probably not eating crap, but you're probably packing in the food.
Oh yeah. I mean, the diet he's got me on right now, it's a lot of food. A lot of food, 6 times a day. And I mean, it's probably I actually have carbs in every meal, which is crazy, because before, when I was doing the Ruby prep before, you know, I had to lose so much body fat that I couldn't have that many carbs. Now I mean, you're getting 8-ounce potatoes in 2 meals, and you're getting a cup of oatmeal, and then you're getting a cup of rice. And I mean, for 2 meals, it's insane the amount of food that I'm getting, and I'm staying relatively lean. So to me, that's the benefit about it. No, I'm not eating a seafood diet, 1,200 calorie diet. You know, no, I'm not doing that. I'm not doing none of that. And the best part about what I love about Cornelius's plan now is, you know, there's no, hey, go do 5 hours of cardio today. It's, you know, monitor what you're eating, drink plenty of water, and make sure you get your steps in. And consistency is what's gonna do it. Everybody thinks that the amount of drugs you take, and you're going to have to take, you know, gallons and gallons and gallons of steroids. No, you don't. You know, it's mostly diet. That's what I love about it. It's mostly diet. You know, test and all that comes when you start really getting into contest prep. Right now, we're far enough out, I don't have to worry about it.
And the thing is, I remember when you used to do those Instagram lives. I mean, you were doing them every day. People thought you were in like some air-conditioned facility. You were in like some sweltering ass heat, you know. I mean, you were like trucking along there, you know.
I got a 20 by it's a 14 by 20 building out there that has no climate control. There's no air conditioning in it. So when it's 90 degrees outside, it's 120 in there, and when it's 40 degrees outside, it's 40 degrees in there. And that's when I go out there and do my cardio, and I get on that stair stepper. I go crazy at it, you know, and I haven't done that yet. It's coming though. It's coming soon, but yeah. And it's just crazy how people think, you know, the trolls, they go all crazy.
Well, they do, you know, but you got to love the trolls. And I did want to say, though, about Big J, though, is that, you know, Big J has no interest in bodybuilding. So therefore, he'll always be big. And he's a power lifter. And he lifts like an absolute maniac. I don't know if that's something that you'd ever want to do. But going back to the Ruby, though, because I got to just ask you just a couple more questions about that 2017 Ruby, because, again, that's probably one of the most talked about shows. And I think the promoters must be delighted by that, because now the Ruby is known. I mean, you know, before you guys, I would think the Ruby would have been known in Palm Beach, Broward, Dade County, that sort of thing. Now people in freaking, you know, Taiwan know about it, you know. With regard to that show, though, looking back to the prep, is there anything you would have done differently? Because, like, when I saw you, again, I was very impressed. You made an insane transformation. I mean, absolutely insane transformation. I think a case could have been made for you winning the competition. But I mean, is there anything, how happy, I guess is a question, how happy were you with the prep going into that competition?
With the prep for that one, it was totally different from every prep that I've done before. So I was very happy with it. I had actually made kind of a fool of myself in 2016. I hired Cornelius to do my diet to go and to do a local show here. And that's when I first went down to and met Lenny. That's the show I was telling him about. That was in October. I was going to do that. He was doing the 2016 Ruby. I told him I'd do the 2017 Ruby. That's when I challenged him to it when I went down. And the difference with that one is, you know, I thought sweet tea, I would be okay to drink sweet tea, and I cheated on my diet. So Cornelius actually got backstage right before I'm going out, and he told me, he said, you know, he said, you're a lost cause. And I just like, I'm fixing to go out on stage and pose, and he's telling me I'm a lost cause. And I went out there and I was like, wow. So it really, really devastated me that, you know, he would say that. But one thing I love about Cornelius is he is brutally honest.
Yeah.
If you can't take brutal honesty, then don't ask him his opinion, because he's going to tell you brutal honesty is what he is about. And so I decided to do the Ruby, and I went back and talked to him, and I said, look, man, I want to hire you. And he just looked at me. He's just like, no, him and Kevin DeHaven, they're just like, we've already been down this road. And I'm like, look, I will do whatever it takes. I don't care. You tell me. They told me to join their gym and start right away and go ahead and pay for everything, done all that. And I started training with Cornelius right then. That's the first time I ever trained with Cornelius. And the diet was totally different than anything I've ever done, even before. So it was totally different than that one. And, you know, we knew I had 6 months to get ready. And it was no cheat meals. You know, they were like, oh, you have a cheat. I'm like, no, I don't want no cheat meals. I'm going to hide my physique. I'm going to prove to all these people that say I cannot do this, I'm going to prove to them that I can. And that's why I went with that the way I did with that diet and no cheat meals. And I mean, I struggled, but you know, 2 hours of cardio a day, it was brutal, getting up at 3 a.m, going and doing it. And I wouldn't change anything about that prep, because that prep and everything there is what got me to where I am today. I mean, that's what actually got me to think about it. That's what got me to being able to get through my accident, be able to heal and recover the way I did, is because of doing all that. I like to say that all that prepared me for when I got in my wreck, you know, so.
And that was a horrible wreck. I mean, and you know, people joke about it. Like I've heard people say, oh, you know, Dale drive through your living room or something like that. And you know, people laugh. But the thing is like you actually did drive into, I mean, it was a horrible,
Yeah.
It's one of those accidents where you drive by on the road and you're like, nobody survived that, you know? And so the fact that you survived it, defied the doctors, got back on your feet again, literally, and your training is amazing. But I can't let go of that show just yet. I got to ask you a little bit more.
Good.
The prep was great. You looked great. You really carried yourself backstage. I got to see you guys backstage. You carried yourself with a level of confidence of somebody that really did their homework. But that's what I saw on the outside. Tell us what was going on in the inside. Not to sound like, you know, like some deep talk show host, but Lenny knows he's taller than you. And
Yeah.
bodybuilders have that sight game where they, just by talking in a certain way down to you, they can mess with your head. Lenny is a super nice guy. I love Lenny. But Lenny, I think, really paid attention during pumping iron, because he was psyching out everybody, including the guy that placed above him. He had everybody, everybody,
Yeah.
wrapped around his finger backstage. That was like his home. You know, he was doing a lot of talking, whereas you were really quiet.
Well, my thing was, you know, I went into it and I told Cornelius when I went in to get spray tan and weigh in the day before, I went in there and you're standing there in front of everybody. You're standing there weighing in, and I get to see all the competition. And I'm like, well, man, I got a shot to win this. Oh, this is going to be great. And that morning, Lenny and I and Brad and Jason, we all went to Planet Fitness and we trained. And me and Lenny already had a somewhat pose down in the locker room in there, and I already knew I beat Lenny because he couldn't say anything. He was just completely speechless. But going into it backstage, you know, when we were sitting there, when you first come walking up, we're backstage pumping up.
Yeah.
I'm like, man, I got this in the bag. I didn't see anybody that was better than me that I thought. You know, the guy that got second, I'm looking at him. I'm like, no, he has a bubble gut. He doesn't even have striations, anything. I was like, no. And then the guy that won it, he was sitting down, you know, not saying anything. And when he stands up and takes his shirt off, I said, that's going to be the guy that beats me, because he was just tall, lean, more rounded muscle bellies. But I said, I don't mind losing to that guy because he looked great. He was fantastic, you know. But the guy that beat me for second, I was just, okay. But, you know, and Cornelius called it. He said, you know, he sees me being second, but he said there could be a possibility for third because it depends on how the judges see that other guy. And it went in that guy's favor. I got third, infamous third place Dale. But
It was a controversial third, though. I mean, you got to feel good about that so many people have an issue with you taking third and think you should have taken.
I felt to me at that point, I didn't even care. I mean, I looked disappointed because I was, and don't get me wrong, I was disappointed, but I didn't care at that point because my whole goal was to take and show everybody that I could do it. When they told me I couldn't, they told me I'd never be able to get in shape, told me I'd never be able to do this, I wouldn't be able to compete, I would look like crap. And then I go down there and all the people that told me that are like, oh my God, look at Dale Chance. Holy crap, he did it. He shut us all up. That was one of my whole things, was to do that, was to shut those guys up. Yeah. And I did. And so here's a name out of the past. Anybody in here in the Genovaverse and the Misfits universe, at Wild Fitness. You know, he would trash me daily. And then he was one of the first people to congratulate me. It's like, wow, dude, you blew us away. And that's all I really wanted to do. And then, you know, if I'd have won, great, cool. But I don't think I'm better than anybody by far. I'm not the best bodybuilder in the world like the trolls seem to think. But no, I just enjoy doing it. It's fun.
Absolutely. And that's great. You know, when you can turn a troll into a supporter, or, you know, a hater, whatever you call them, that's great.
Yeah.
Now,
and that's like with Lenny's psyching out ability. Lenny, I think Lenny psyched his own self out because he knew he wasn't going to be the best that he could be because being in the hospital, the hurricane and everything. But, you know, Lenny, I always say this about Lenny. Lenny is he is my favorite Delray Misfits character of all time, always, because of how he is, what he's about, and, you know, the things he does, the way he would talk in the old Misfits videos, you know, and he always wanted somebody to challenge him. So when he asked for that, you know, that challenge, I accepted. I said, okay, cool. I'll challenge you. That's when I sent him the first video I ever did of me doing bent over rows of 405. And did I ever think it would catapult to where it's at today? No, I didn't. But I'm glad it did because I actually gained a really good friend. You know, me and Lenny have this love-hate relationship. You know, we'll trash each other in a minute. But if we see each other in person, you know, we shake hands and we're friends. And, you know, I don't mind him talking trash about me. You know why? It keeps me motivated. It keeps me wanting to do what I'm doing. And because, and same thing with him. If I don't trash him, it doesn't motivate him, then he just don't want to do it. That's what I love about our relationship.
That's
a lot of people don't understand that.
That's really cool. We wanted both of you at different times at Iron Mag Labs when we had our Iron Mag TV, which we might, you know, be starting up again. But one thing too, and the last thing about the Ruby is that, you know, bodybuilders, all physique-based athletes, you know, they have something called cortisol. Cortisol levels, you know, usually go up and down, you know, when there's nerves, when there's pressure. With respect to the Ruby, did you have any added pressure? Was there, were you a little bogged down by the prospect of, if I win this show, I'm going to get a Blackstone Labs contract? Or was that, by the time you were backstage pumping up, getting ready to hit the stage, was that thought already out of your mind?
Yeah, that was, I mean, yeah, that I'd heard about that and talked to PJ the day before. And I knew there would be repercussions, you know, if I got onto the Blackstone Labs team because of Jason. But yes, that already went past my mind. My whole thing was to go out there and present the best package I could. And what really got me as far as the whole Ruby is when they made us do a 30-second routine when walking out and doing the comparison, then they made us stand there and do a 30-second routine. I had never done that, so that actually took me off. And there was no music playing, so I'm just standing there posing. And I was just a little taken back by that, why they would do that to us. And that kind of got in my head a little bit. But going into the night show, I knew that I couldn't let that be the downfall. I had to stay tight, because if I have any chance of winning or placing good, I had to stay tight. I couldn't let it go. Like, as when we went out to eat, Jason's eating pasta, and he went from okay to even worse, during the morning to the night show, because he just didn't care at that point.